"I've got another late client meeting tonight. Don't wait up," she said, grabbing her laptop bag and kissing me on the cheek. It wasn't unusual. Jenna worked in event planning, dinners, launch parties, high-end networking functions. Her job came with odd hours, and I'd gotten used to her walking through the door well past midnight. For a long time, I never questioned it. She'd come home tired, sometimes in heels she could barely walk in, complaining about drunk clients or last-minute venue disasters. She smelled like perfume and champagne, and I chalked it up to the nature of the business, but lately, something felt off. Her tone was different, colder. Her smiles didn't linger the way they used to. She didn't touch me as much, and when I asked how her night had gone, she'd give me vague answers. Just the usual chaos, before heading straight to the shower. Still, I told myself not to overthink it. People get tired, work gets stressful, and we'd always trusted each other. But then last Thursday, something changed. I was scrolling through social media when I noticed a post from one of her coworkers. A selfie. A casual fun picture, except Jenna wasn't in it. And according to Jenna, they'd been working together all night. That was the first crack. The next night, she told me she had another late event downtown. I smiled and said, "Good luck, babe." But I already had a plan. I was going to find out where she really went. That Friday night, I sat in my car across the street from a quiet apartment complex. Engine off, heart pounding. Jenna had left home about 20 minutes earlier, dressed like she always did on late work nights. Black dress, subtle lipstick, that thin gold necklace I bought her last anniversary. She looked beautiful, sharp, professional, too perfect for a night of spreadsheets and stressed out clients. Still, I wanted to believe her. She'd worked in events for years. Conventions, fundraisers, galas. Odd hours weren't unusual. For the longest time, I accepted that. I trusted her. I wanted to trust her. But lately, something had changed. She'd stopped talking to me. Not in the obvious way. She still asked about my day, still kissed me goodnight. But there was a distance I couldn't explain. A kind of silence between words. A delay in her gaze. And her eyes. They looked like they were always somewhere else. I had ignored the feeling for weeks. I blamed work stress, relationship fatigue, anything except the most obvious explanation, until I couldn't ignore it anymore. The first time I followed her, I felt like the worst version of myself. I waited 5 minutes after she left, took my friend's old car, and kept 2 blocks behind. She drove to a high-end hotel downtown, walked in confidently, alone. I waited 2 hours. She came out alone. I drove home with my head full of shame. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe I'd lost my grip. The second time, same thing. A conference center. She even sent me a photo mid-event. Group pic, formal wear, some executives I'd seen before. I almost stopped there. Almost. But the third time, everything changed. She left early, 6:15 p.m. Said she had to meet a difficult client before the event. Her voice was flat, rushed. She didn't kiss me goodbye that night. Instead of downtown, she took a different route. Quieter part of town, residential. I followed, every cell in my body screaming that I shouldn't be doing this, but I had to. She pulled over near a small apartment complex and waited. 10 minutes passed. Then he came out. Mid-40s, rolled sleeves, no wedding ring. He looked like the kind of guy who probably gave charming speeches at company mixers and said all the right things. Jenna smiled when she saw him. Not a business smile, not a polite smile. It was soft, private, like I wasn't even part of her world anymore. They didn't kiss. Not yet. They just talked. He handed her something, a sweater, I think, and she laughed. That laugh. The one she used to save for me. Then they drove off together in her car. I followed at a distance. They ended up at a riverfront restaurant. Small, romantic, barely lit with golden string lights, the same place we used to go for anniversaries. They got a table outside, ordered wine, talked for nearly 2 hours. I watched from across the street, my heart breaking 1 second at a time. They didn't hold hands, they didn't kiss, but they didn't have to. Every look, every lean in. Every time she brushed her hair behind her ears, he laughed. It was intimate, familiar, comfortable. And I knew. I knew I was watching something that didn't belong to me anymore. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't even move. I just sat there, frozen. My mind blank, yet spiraling. That woman across the street wasn't the Jenna I knew. She looked alive in a way I hadn't seen in months, and maybe years. And the worst part, it wasn't that she was cheating. It was that she looked happy. Genuinely happy. Happy without me. The drive home was a blur. I don't even remember the turns I took. When she walked in later that night, same perfume, same smile, same tired voice, I was sitting on the couch pretending to scroll through my phone. She kissed me on the forehead like nothing had happened. I just nodded and asked how the event went. She said it was exhausting, and then she walked away. I stared at the blank TV screen for what felt like hours. Something inside me had unraveled. The marriage wasn't broken in a dramatic crash. It had slowly corroded, quietly, until I realized I was the only one still holding on. That night I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I didn't make accusations. Because I needed something more than just a broken heart. I needed proof. I needed the truth to scream louder than her lies. So the next morning I ordered a small hidden camera, motion activated, synced to my laptop. If she was going to lie to my face, I was going to catch her in the act. The cameras pinged at 6:48 p.m. sharp. I was still at the hotel, sitting at the edge of the bed, laptop open, fingers trembling slightly over the trackpad. She was in the driver's seat again, same gray blazer, lips tinted wine red. She looked calm, collected, effortless. A minute later, the passenger door opened. It was him. They didn't hesitate. No checking mirrors, no nervous glances. He leaned in, kissed her cheek, and slid into the seat like he'd done it 100 times before. Jenna giggled and handed him a coffee. "Thought you might be tired." "I always am," he said, sipping. "But this helps." They laughed. For a while it was small talk, about work, traffic, weekend plans. Then the tone shifted. She asked, "Did you hear anything more about Lauren?" My body went still. He scoffed. "Yeah, last I heard she left the state. After everything—" "Who wouldn't?" Jenna nodded, eyes on the road. Sometimes I think about it, whether we went too far." He shrugged. "Too far?" She was going to tell him everything. "You wanted to keep your marriage intact, remember?" Silence. Then Jenna said quietly, "She didn't deserve that, though. Losing her job, losing her friends." He turned to her. "She knew what she was doing. You told her you'd walk away from me, and she still went behind your back." My heart was pounding now. The name Lauren rang in my head like a siren. Who was she? Jenna added, "But lying to HR, making her look unstable. You said it'd be temporary." "It was," he said bluntly. "She just didn't recover, not our fault." Jenna's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "It kind of is, though." He laughed. "We did what we had to do. She was a threat. To both of us." I sat frozen. I had expected to catch cheating. I had expected lies, betrayal, the gut-wrenching horror of watching my wife touch someone else. But this? This was something darker. They hadn't just hidden their affair. They had destroyed someone. Intentionally, methodically. And Jenna, she'd gone along with it. Not because she was manipulated, not because she was forced. She chose it. Back in the car, the conversation turned casual again. They started talking about getting away for the weekend, some cabin upstate. Jenna said she needed to be careful. "I don't want him to get suspicious again." "He's always been a little clueless, hasn't he?" the man said. My chest tightened. "He's not clueless," Jenna said. "He's just trusting." For some reason, that hurt more than anything else. When the footage ended, I sat there in silence. My ears rang. My heart felt like it was trying to tear through my ribs. I didn't just lose my wife that night. I lost the version of her I thought I knew. This wasn't a woman who made a mistake in a moment of weakness. This was someone who played people like pieces on a board, and I was one of them. I saved the footage, copied it to 3 drives, backed it up to cloud storage, labeled it with cold, clinical titles like 6:48 p.m. start and car convo unfiltered. Not because I needed revenge, because I needed the truth to live somewhere outside my own mind. When I got home the next evening, Jenna was already there. She greeted me at the door like always, wrapped her arms around me, kissed my cheek. I didn't pull away. Not yet. She asked about the trip. I said it went well. She poured me a drink. I pretended to sip. That night I stared at her as she brushed her teeth, humming some old pop song like nothing was wrong. I wondered what other versions of her existed that I never saw. The next morning I told her I wanted to take her out to dinner that weekend. Someplace nice. She looked surprised, maybe even guilty, but agreed quickly. That'd be nice. Wear something black, I told her. I want it to feel like old times. She smiled and said, okay. I didn't sleep much that night. Instead, I drafted a letter. Attached links, videos, quotes from the conversation in the car. I printed everything, slid it into an envelope. On the front, I wrote in block letters, in case I ever forget who you really are. I wasn't ready to confront her, not yet, but I was done being the clueless husband. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was a revelation, and I wasn't going to let her rewrite the story. Not anymore. I didn't plan a confrontation. I planned a reckoning. Friday night, I walked through the door with a calm I didn't feel. Jenna was in the kitchen plating dinner. The lights were dim, the table already set, music playing low in the background. She smiled when she saw me, like everything was normal, like she hadn't spent the past few weeks living two lives. Happy early anniversary, she said, stepping forward to kiss my cheek. I let her. Can we eat first? I asked. Then I want to show you something. She looked pleasantly surprised. Of course. We ate in silence, or rather she talked, I listened, about work, her boss, weekend plans. None of it mattered anymore. After dinner, I brought my laptop to the table. She tilted her head. What's that? Something I think you should hear. I pressed play. The car's interior appeared on screen, her hands on the steering wheel, his voice, her voice. The moment he stepped into the car, she froze. Her smile faded instantly. Her fork slipped from her hand and hit the plate with a sharp clink. Then came the words, the laughter, the confession. She just didn't recover. Not our fault. You told her you'd walk away from me. She was going to tell him everything. I paused it, looked at Jenna. She looked like she'd been hit by a truck. Where... How did you... She stammered. I installed a camera in your car, I said quietly, because I needed to know the truth. She stood up, pushed her chair back like she was about to run. But she didn't. She sat back down slowly, her eyes brimming with panic. I didn't mean to hurt you, she whispered. I laughed, bitter, empty. You didn't just hurt me, you hurt someone else. You destroyed someone else. And now you're, what, guilty? Ashamed? Too late. Her voice cracked. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I just didn't know how to stop it. Oh, you knew exactly how, I said, leaning forward. You had every opportunity to stop. Instead, you buried someone. You played along. You chose this. Tears welled in her eyes, but I saw no sincerity behind them, just fear. Fear of being caught. Fear of losing control. Lauren was going to tell you everything, she said, almost begging now. I was scared you'd leave me. So instead, you made sure she lost everything first, I snapped. You crushed her so you could keep your affair intact? She shook her head violently. You don't understand. He said he'd handle it. I didn't think she'd actually... Her voice trailed off. She covered her face with both hands, trying to contain whatever was breaking inside her. But it was too late. I'd already seen what was behind the curtain. I stood by you, I said. Believed in you. And you looked me in the eye every night and lied. I still love you, she whispered. I stared at her, and for the first time in our entire marriage, I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, just exhaustion. No, I said. You loved the version of me who didn't know who you really were. She cried that night, begged, followed me to the door, pulling at my arm like she could rewind time just by saying the right words. I can fix this, she sobbed. No, Jenna, I said without turning back. You don't fix something by setting it on fire first. The next morning I filed for divorce. No drama, no screaming, just a signature. She didn't contest it. I think she knew the damage was beyond repair. A week later I opened a blank email and attached the video. I didn't write much, just one line. I believe this belongs to you. I sent it to Lauren from a private address, untraceable. I didn't expect anything in return. But 2 days later the explosion came. An internal company email was leaked online. Then came a flurry of messages, screenshots, a statement from HR announcing an investigation, suspension pending further review. By that afternoon, Jenna's company scrubbed her bio from the executive page. The man she'd been seeing, her so-called consultant, was reportedly removed from several ongoing projects. Rumors said he resigned before formal charges could be filed. The online chatter grew louder. Executive couple manipulates HR to silence a whistleblower. Internal corruption scandal surfaces with shocking audio. It was everywhere. She texted me 3 times that night. Then she called. Then she stopped. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, but because I didn't owe her anything anymore. Justice has its own voice. And sometimes all you need to do is press play. Some betrayals don't leave scars. They leave echoes. Quiet, constant reminders of what you thought you had and who you thought they were. In the beginning, I thought catching Jenna with another man would be the hardest part. But what broke me wasn't just the affair. It was realizing she'd sacrificed someone else's dignity, sanity, and career just to protect a lie. She didn't act out of passion. She acted out of fear and selfishness. And when the truth came out, the universe didn't look away. Jenna tried to stay quiet at first. She resigned before her company could fire her, hoping it would all blow over. But the clip of her voice, cold, laughing, conspiring, made its rounds online like wildfire. She became that woman from the recording, the one who ruined another woman's career just to cover her affair. She lost her job, then her reputation, then most of her friends. No one wants to be seen siding with someone who weaponized HR to destroy another human being. I later heard she moved in with her sister out of state, trying to rebuild in a small town where no one recognized her, but the internet doesn't forget. Her LinkedIn was flooded with comments. Her name, once tied to executive awards and leadership panels, now brought up in Reddit threads and anonymous exposés about corporate toxicity. She couldn't get rehired. No company wanted to inherit that PR nightmare. As for him, Mr. Consultant, his fall was quieter but steeper. Clients dropped him. A few board members publicly distanced themselves. He lost 3 long-term contracts within a month. And then his wife found out. Yes, turns out he wasn't divorced. Just good at pretending. She filed for separation in the same week the audio went public. He now lives in a 1-bedroom apartment, struggling to book freelance work, constantly looking over his shoulder, wondering when the next headline will bury what's left of his career. As for Lauren, she moved to another city, got a better job, one that valued her. She even gave a TEDx talk about whistleblowing and surviving toxic workplaces. Her story was finally hers to tell. And people listened. Me? I live smaller now, quieter but freer. The silence doesn't sting anymore. It feels earned. I still think about Jenna sometimes, not with longing, but with disbelief. Because when you love someone, you never imagine they're capable of ruining another person's life, just to keep you in the dark. Here's what I've learned. Love without accountability is poison. Loyalty without honesty is manipulation. And silence in the face of evil makes you part of it. So let me ask you this. If the person you love destroyed someone else's life to keep your relationship alive, would you forgive them? Would you stay silent? Or would you walk away and finally let the truth speak for itself? Let me know in the comments. Because sometimes karma doesn't need help. It just needs time.